To the channel. I'm Ninja Turtle, and today is Jill Valentine's Day. Happy Jill Valentine's Day, everybody. In all seriousness, it's Valentine's Day, and I wanted to celebrate that. I've been working on these Jill figures somewhat on a coincidence of just wanting to get these done, but realized that Valentine's Day was coming up and decided to get this done early because I do have some plans for February. It's Valentine's Day today, but it's also Black History Month, so we'll see some Black History related things in the future because I want that to end the month, I decided. But we're going to concentrate on Jill Valentine today. So I've got my 3D printed statue right here, and then 2 action figures, and then 1 non-articulated figure that I made, all custom. The 3D printed, obviously I didn't do that myself, but I did all of the painting myself. So let's go ahead and talk about each of them. Let's go ahead and start with the oldest, costume, I suppose, or oldest appearance, which would be really this one, the Resident Evil 3 version. So let's go ahead and start talking about that one. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, Jill Valentine, and her main costume from that game. So I've actually never played this game. I've never played any of the older Resident Evils. I started with Resident Evil 4, so I'm not personally familiar with the game itself. I've watched a few streams, a few YouTube videos here and there. I know the story, but it doesn't change the fact that I really like this outfit for Jill from that game, and I wanted something for my shelf in plastic form. I actually do have hate to brag, but I do have an autographed picture of Jill from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, pretty much in this similar pose. It's like the official art, and it's signed by the voice actress. I got that a couple years ago, and I have that framed up, and this is going to be standing right in front of it. So I'm really happy to have something like this, since it's pretty much nothing officially licensed, that it is. So I made a base, as you can see. That's something when I'm starting to do these non-articulated figures, I want to start making more bases, because the last time I did a non-articulated, the first one I did was that Rogue. I didn't make a base for it, so I used a action figure stand, and that's what's keeping the figure upright, since she's in a walking pose, and there's no way you can do that without it falling over. So I put her on a figure stand, but I don't want to waste figure stands and keep buying those all the time. So I made a base so that she can stand on it. Now, most of the time I'm going to actually glue the figures down onto the base, but this one's actually loose. So it's not necessary. She's not standing in a super complicated way. So I decided to just keep it loose and not have to worry about any like paint that is going to be like sharing the surface or whatever, like spilling over. But it is made of resin. It is just a resin. Basically, I have a cup downstairs, a plastic drinking cup that I put some rubber mold in and molded the entire inside of the cup. And just for the rubber to be in there, so that way I was like, just in case in the future, maybe I want to pour some resin in there and just have a circular thing of resin. And that was like 3-4 years ago that I made that decision, and this is the first time I've ever actually used it for this purpose. But yeah, it's just like a plastic solo cup or whatever that has resin, that I poured resin into, and just really thinly right there sanded it and has got it as flat as possible. And then so it's just a circle, and then this shape on the top is epoxy sculpt that I sculpted. It's just flattened out and then cut these shapes around it, and then painted, sanded and painted everything. So the umbrella symbol itself isn't the most beautiful, perfect, symmetrical, yada yada. It is hand painted. I did my best. I wanted to sculpt these lines, these black lines in there, but that was proving to be a little too difficult, so I decided to just paint it, but it still turned out pretty decently. So hopefully I will have more of these types of bases for Resident Evil characters. Not every single one is going to have that base, but there are other characters that could have the base like this, of the umbrella symbol. Other ladies at least. That said, so let's go ahead and talk about the actual figure itself. So again, based off of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis Jill, her default outfit. This is based on the key art. This is non-articulated, so all of the arms and legs and knees are glued in together, so that way she can't move. She cannot move anything at all. The gun is not the gun is not glued in. I can remove it if I want to. I don't want to potentially mess up the paint, but I can take it out if I wanted to give her a more accurate looking gun in the future or something like that. So there's that. And then as far as the build goes, start at the bottom. These boots, the actual shoes themselves, are from Captain Marvel, the MCU Captain Marvel. That's what these boots are. Just the bottom, the feet, I should say. But that figure, the boots on that, does have more sculpted detail on there normally, and I just took the Dremel and dremeled all of that sculpted detail off of the Captain Marvel boot, so that way they just look like normal boots, pretty much how that goes. Then the actual legs, the leg part of the boot, and then the legs, the lower legs, are from Scarlet Witch from the MCU as well. I think this one was actually the Civil War Scarlet Witch figure. Just the lower leg, right? And I've been also, if that's a little too hard for you to find, if you're trying to get this exact same thing, you can also buy the What If Scarlet Witch figure that has the exact same boots. So you can use those. The only difference here is I added the sculpted detail for this darker brown here, as well as the buckle on each side of the leg. So that's all added in. So what's nice about making these non-articulated figures is I don't have to worry about compatibility as much, because these legs are from the MJ No Way Home figure, with some modifications, getting rid of all of the blue jean denim fabric and all that, the cloth ripples and all that. But these knees are just regular knees from a regular old Kate Bishop, any old standard knees, but none of that would be compatible with, no, these three would not be compatible normally, but because I'm not using pins and I'm not using, actually I think there are pins in there to keep the legs stable, but for the most part it would not be, none of these three things would fit together. So once it's glued in there and I fill in the sculpt, all of the holes, all of the gaps, you can see some of the, like a little indentation right there where the hole was for the pin. But for what it's worth, I don't have to worry about compatibility. Everything is fine. As long as I get the part that I want to have, I can just go ahead and use it. So that's the way that is. So again, these legs are from, the thighs are from the MJ figure No Way Home. And then the torso itself is just, I think it's just a standard Kate Bishop. I actually forgot. You know what? No, I think it's, if I remember correctly, I used a Spider Woman, for the lower torso. I believe the lower torso is Spider Woman, the one that has like the jacket and the glasses. I forget what wave that was. It might have been the Sauron wave. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just a bodysuit sort of torso. It doesn't really matter because you can't see any of that detail, and I sculpted over everything anyway. The upper torso is just that of a Blink figure, but modified, obviously. So one thing is, yeah, she's got quite a bit of cleavage now. So I enhanced her chest, this is starters, and then to go into her outfit, since this is all glued together or sculpted together, and I think in this case I didn't glue the upper and lower torsos because I knew I was going to add sculpt going down to cover up all of that, what would be the torso that you would see. So this is all epoxy sculpted for her upper torso and lower torso, her top, and then also the skirt is sculpted as well. So and none of that's moving, none of it's, and the same thing with the white shirt, none of this was moving. It's all hard sculpted. It is very difficult to get the paint in back here in between the shirt and the skirt. So some of that is just not painted because it just can't get paint down that way. It's too close. But it is what it is. So arms are just standard arms from any K Bishop. Same thing with the hands. This is one gun trigger hand there, and just a standard C grip hand there. And then the head, I don't know. I actually don't know what head this is. And that's my bad, my mistake. So I made a bunch of resin heads when I was in the copying heads spree years ago. Copy this head, copy that, and I just copied a bunch of heads and let them sit around waiting for me to actually use them. And over time I lost track of what head was actually what. Like, I don't know what character's face this is at all. I thought it was the head that I'm about to show you later on. I thought it was a copy of that head, so I went ahead and used it. It turns out, no, that it's definitely not. Now that it has paint on it, I can tell that the differences between the two. So I don't know whose face this is, what Marvel Legends character, but I'll just have to go with it. I have no other choice because everything's glued down and sculpted on. Come on. Yeah. I'd like to show you at some point. Anyway, it'll focus again eventually. Camera's nice, but sometimes I have issues. Yeah, the neck is got sculpt all in there, so to fill in all of those gaps, so I don't get to take this head off and replace it or anything like that. I did my best to sculpt the hair. It didn't come out perfectly. It could use a little bit more detail. It started to fold in a little bit right here, but it's okay. It's not my best work. It's not my worst. She does have like a little bit of her hair coming down across her face, and then everything else is hand painted, her eyes or her mouth and eyebrows and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a decent effort. It's not my favorite. It's my favorite look of all of the looks for Jill, but it's not my favorite figure and how it turned out. But it's still okay, and I'm happy with it. It was better than nothing, basically. So that'll wrap it up for this one. Alright, continuing with Resident Evil 3, we're going to just jump ahead in time and do the modern remake. So again, this is a non-articulated 3D printed statue. So I do not have a 3D printer. I bought this off of eBay. I will leave a link in the description, or maybe I'll do a screenshot. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that right now, but of where I bought it from, the seller that I bought it from. I thought it was a decent price, and this is the first 3D printed statue that I've ever bought and painted. So it turned out, I'd say, pretty well. I like that how it looks. I really do. I don't know who. I'm pretty sure the person that's selling it is not the sculptor. I think those are two different people. But whoever sculpted this did a really good job. I think everything looks really great. It has a lot of detail. I wouldn't say it's perfect detail, but it is excellent detail. Maybe a 9 out of 10 on the details. Could use like a little bit more here and there if it was going to go for that perfect score. My favorite, absolute favorite thing is actually her gun, because it has quite a bit of detail on it. And then I ended up using some gunmetal gray for the color, and it looks incredibly good. I really love the color of the gun and how that turned out. There's some browns and blacks in there as well. It's kind of hard to see, especially now, like when you take it apart. Well, one thing to note, it does come in pieces. If you never bought a 3D printed figure, it comes in pieces. So each of the legs were one, then the torso, and then each arm, and then the head. So painting the gun was a lot easier once everything was separate. Another thing to note, I didn't know, but it was hollow on the inside. I say hollow because it was hollow. It had holes in it, and you can see on the inside that there's no resin, there's no plastic filling in any of the legs or the torso, or the arms, or the head. It's all hollow, and the resin's relatively thin. And I understand why you want to save on material when you're printing and all of that. But for me, I like something more dense. It doesn't come with a base, and I was worried about what if it falls over or snaps or something like that. So since I have my own resin, I filled in the resin, like I'll fill it up with resin in those holes, mostly in the legs. So I just poured resin right down the holes, and it just filled right on up in these legs. It didn't go all the way to the top because that would have been, too much. It would spill over. But so I would say I have it about this high. It's filled up with resin on each leg. I did a little bit in the arms. It was a little harder to get resin inside of there. Since there was holes in the bottom of the torso and on the top where the arms are going to go, I didn't put any resin in there. So this is still plenty hollow inside the torso. And I did add a little bit of resin inside of her head because it was also hard to pour inside of there. But overall, it makes a figure more dense, a little heavier, so it's a little bit more gonna sturdy. It's a little sturdier, right? It's not gonna be falling over because it's just super light or anything like that. That was the whole point. That said, going over some of the details, I pretty much painted this. I used different paint, but like I said, I don't know, did I say that in this video? I don't think I did. I did make a Resident Evil 3 Jill of this costume many years ago as an articulated figure, which I have somewhat still right here. That's a little bit. This is what remains of it. So yeah, I don't have the upper torso anymore. I actually use the upper torso on the Jill that I just showed you, the statue one that I just made. So everything else is still right here for that Jill of this costume. The colors, you can see I made some small changes overall because I'm using different paint overall, so it has to be different. But for the most part, you get some good details here. You got your laces. I love the jean texture on her legs. So you can see like it looks like denim. She has a full holster on her thigh. It does. I mean, the gun doesn't come out, so you're not gonna get like being able to put the gun into the holster. If I can get this to focus for me. Yeah, so you're not gonna get the gun to fit into the holster because the gun doesn't come out of her hand. It was supposed to have a hole on the bottom of the holster down there, which you can't see unfortunately, but there was a hole in there. But when I was pouring the resin into the leg, some of it spilled over and spilled out into her leg and then filled in the holster, and then it sealed up the bottom of the holster, so it actually doesn't have a bottom now. So be careful when you're working with resin. Other than that, the detail is the detail. The shirt and all that stuff. It looks great. It just looks really good. Her face may vary depending on how talented you are with sculpting, or with painting, I should say, hand painting and all of that. So that's gonna vary. Her face turned out fine to me. I could have done a little bit better painting. I did have like a little splotchiness when painting her right eye a little bit there, and her hair does get in the way of trying to paint things. That's going to be a thing that I'll talk about at length in other 3D printed head sculpts that I'll have in the future. But overall, I really was into this. The gun holders, her straps, whatever, for her chest, whatever this piece is, a separate piece. It is loose. It comes that way. Um, you just got to make sure that you do what I didn't do, and that's paint it ahead of time and then put it on and then put the arms on because long story short, I forgot. I mean, and I was like steady reminding myself constantly to do this in such and such order, and I got all the way there, and then I had some issue that came up, so I had to take the holster off, the this back, whatever this thing is called, off, and then when I needed to put it back on, I forgot to put it back on, and I had already glued her arms on. So it is not flexible resin at all. So I had to actually cut this in half in the back after it had all been painted and finished, and glue it back together after I put it together. So pain in the butt, but it still turned out good. I really like this. I think the seller has a decent price on eBay. Again, it should be showing you links or something like that if you're interested in buying this particular 3D printed statue. This is not sponsored. I bought this with my own money, and I do recommend it, though. It is a really good looking Jill Valentine. There are other ones too that the same sculptor did. So if you want a different pose or a different outfit, go for it. All right, so we got now Jill Valentine as she appeared specifically in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So this is her S.T.A.R.S outfit, which is Resident Evil 1, but specifically this is the Marvel 2 version. At least that's what I was going for. That's why her face looks weird, just in case you've never played Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This is more of like the art style of her face from all of the, like when you do her super moves, and then some from the key art for the game. They drew her in the very, well, basically a face like this. You'd have to look it up. You had to have been there, basically, if you're curious. But that's why I chose this head specifically. I didn't want the Resident Evil 1 head. There is a 3D printed head for both, and I chose this one because it's going to go on my Marvel vs. Capcom collection of figures. So I don't have any plans on making a S.T.A.R.S Jill from RE1 with like a more realistic head, but if I do, I would buy the 3D printed one. The 3D printed head that you're looking at here, I bought from Daisho Customs, Daisho Collections, Creations, Daisho Creations. I will leave a link for him. I bought it off of his Etsy store. So you're going to hear that name a lot around here because I bought a lot of stuff from his Etsy store. And so far, I would say of all of the 3D printed things that I've experienced thus far, he is my favorite 3D printer. The quality of the head just comes out really great. Now, again, he didn't sculpt the head, but he did print it. So I will at least reference you to him as a good quality printer of 3D printed things. He is in the UK, so you would have to pay international shipping if you're in the US or something like that. So that can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it is worth it. So that's enough about that. Let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the figure. So these boots are from the lore, like all of the actual shoes, and then just the boot sculpt itself is from Sylvie, right? Is it Sylvie? Right? Whatever the Loki variant is from the TVA, the Loki Disney Plus series, that Marvel Legend figure, the Sylvie. That's what these boots are. But I just cut them off though, or removed them from that figure, because they do come off. They just pop right on off relatively easily. But the rest of the leg, from here up to the knee, that would be from the also Disney Plus. That is Sharon Carter's. These are Sharon Carter's legs from that Marvel Legend figure, with that little bit of sculpt there just to make it look a little bit more baggy towards the bottom of the pants. So those on the Sharon Carter also have like their boots, but it doesn't have this kind of detail like this. So I just cut that off because you can remove that easily as well, and just replace it with these. So there, it's pretty one for one, but it is glued together. There is no peg to just swap them easily. So there's no boot rotation here whatsoever. It's just cut them off or remove them and then glued them back. Did the swap and glued them like this. So that goes for just the lower from here basically to here is Sharon Carter, and then Sylvie right here. The knees and the thighs are from that same figure I referenced earlier, the Scarlet Witch, the Civil War Scarlet Witch. That's what these thighs are, and the knees. And like I said, also the same figure, they use the same legs on that What If Scarlet Witch figure. So if you don't have access to that old the old Civil War Scarlet Witch, you can buy the What If Scarlet Witch. They're the exact same pants. And those knees are compatible with these legs. So it ended up working out really well. This belt here, the one that's the Lucy belt, the loose belt, that is from Domino, the Marvel Legends Domino figure. And I added a sculpted pouch there just for the details. So just that's all sculpted by hand and just glued onto the Domino belt and painted on there. As far as her lower torso goes, this is the torso from the female Beetle figure. Yes, that's correct. I'm just making sure. It's like, is this right? Yeah, female Beetle. You can see some of the details on her chest, or excuse me, on her abs and stomach, and right here on her back. A little bit, this is original details, but I did add sculpt here for the pants. So sculpted the belt on, and then sculpted the hoops for the pants, and just a little bit going up past the belt so to make it look like it's pants. And it's a relatively seamless transition, I'd say. So it worked out really well. Back to the rest of her arms are just regular arms from any old Kate Bishop. We're gonna get that focus issue again. Come on, there we go. Yeah, her arms are just regular arms. Nothing special there. I did add these, well, bracelets or whatever, because she just has really bulky forearms for her gloves. These are just the little bracelets that come on the Shriek figure. No, Shikla figure. Those gold bands that come on that figure. And I glued those down. And then her hands are just regular. This is regular gun grip hand, and it's a regular C grip hand. She only has the one gun. This gun, however, is a 3D printed gun. I bought that last minute. It is 3D printed from a guy whose name I don't remember, but I bought it off of eBay. So I will also link you to that store on eBay so you can buy this gun or any other guns that he has if you're interested. But it's a very small gun, but it's a nice gun. It worked out. I really dig that. Upper torso is a black cat. The black cat with the eyes on her chest. We'll just say that. The Kingpin Build-A-Figure Wave black cat is this upper torso. Added a little bit of sculpt right here to get that chest, like the shirt detail there. And obviously she has these big shoulder things. That's all 100% hand sculpted by me. I did all of that. It was just epoxy sculpt and sanded it down and put a little detail on there for the buttons. Now, that said, you can buy not only just the 3D printed head from Daisho Creations, you can also buy the shoulder piece too as a 3D printed shoulder piece as a combo. You can buy them both together. Again, not sponsored, but it is something I considered when I bought the head. I decided to save the money because I knew I could sculpt this, and I did. So I decided to save the money. But if you're not great at sculpting, maybe consider buying the 3D printed shoulder pads instead of trying it yourself. But that said, this 3D print does have some nice details, like the badge on her hat. It's too small to try to actually paint each letter and all of that, but it does say stars very faintly and has her stars up there. So I just added a little bit of paint there just to get some of the details painted. Again, you see her mouth opens up. This isn't the only expression, by the way. If you don't like her with her mouth open, you think it looks funny, you can get the same head but with her mouth closed, and then there's like an angry, so basically there's like a neutral face, an angry face, and then this like more action face, something like that. There's 3 different options. But overall, I think the hair detail looks really great on that, and everything just turned out great. I really like it. Marvel 2 Jill. Ta-da! Okay, so lastly, we're going to talk about Resident Evil 5 Jill and the bodysuit, which is what she wears in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So again, I made this stuff specifically for my Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Or at least this one and the last figure, and the other 2 are for my Resident Evil stuff. But she's going to be displayed with the Marvel characters on my Marvel 3 shelf. This was fun to make, even though it was like a pain because of all of the paint details. It's mostly like 2 colors, but then I decided to be a little bit more extra and paint some other fine details in there that took me a little bit longer to get in there, but we'll get into that. Let's go ahead and talk about the guns first, because just like I said before with the last guns, these are 3D printed guns. I got this from the same person I got the last guns from. I really love them. I think they look really great. Really great detail. Now, it's not the exact gun that she has in the game. I might have been able to find that. He has a lot of guns available to pick from. I didn't bother looking for the exact same one. I just saw something that looked similar and just say, okay, that'll work. This is pretty close to what she has in Resident Evil 5 and in Marvel 3. So it works good enough for me, and they painted it very easily, very nicely. So I was super into that. But other than that, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the figure. Start at the bottom, the shoes. So the shoes are, there you go. These are the shoes from, I believe the No Way Home MJ is the same shoes. I believe that's what these are, the No Way Home MJ shoes. But I dremeled off all of the details just to make them just kind of plain, and they have like a little bit of a heel on them. I didn't want to go too crazy with that. So yeah, it works out. I like them just fine. Legs are just a standard Kate Bishop. These are black ones from, I believe, also from Ashikla. But, you know, just, and using the same knees as well from Ashikla, because they're all black. This area right here is black, so that means I didn't paint the inside of her knees. So keep that all together. The paint on it, this purple, is a custom color. I used purple and I added a smidge of blue to it. So it has a look a little bit of bluish to it, but for the most part it's still very strongly purple. And then you can see some of the details, like here it's a little lighter. You can see maybe there we go. You can see some of that detail there where it's a little lighter. It's the same paint, just added a little bit of white to make it lighter, and then here is just a neutral gray on the black to make those lines there. And that's the detail that took me a little while. Didn't come out super cleanly, but it is nicer to have that than to have nothing. Speaking of that, most of this bodysuit, and as far as the figure goes, actually, as far as the actual costume goes and the character, has a very like a like a hexagon, or what is it, like a honeycomb, that's the word, a honeycomb pattern going across the entire suit, including the shoes and stuff. I was not about to sculpt this entire figure just to get that detail on there. That would be a waste of sculpt, and there's definitely no way I'm hand painting that. So I decided to skip that. But adding those lines gave it a little bit more detail, just to make me feel better, basically. So going into the thighs, very important here. These are actually two separate thighs glued together. I apologize if you hear my dog, but these are the top part of the thigh is just the thigh from the No Way Home MJ, but the bottom part of the thigh is just the same thigh from any probably Sheikla. Actually, I think I used the Sheikla thigh. So why did I do that? Because I wanted it to maintain its functionality, a normal functionality. So basically, you can have the knees actually bend and support the strength of the figure. These legs and knees do not work on a MJ leg. Now, of course, I don't have to use an MJ leg, but that's just how I work around here. I'm very complicated. So you don't have to do that at all. If you just want to use a standard Kate Bishop and just, or use pinless. Pinless would work on this too. If you want to use like a Shriek figure with pinless legs, and that would work too. But for me, that would be too tall and too muscular. So I'm very particular on that. So I experimented and just again cut two thighs in half, and bottom part and the bottom part and the top part from two different figures, and glued them together so that they can work here. Then took a lot of sculpt, smoothed it out to fill in the gaps, and then took the Dremel to smooth it out to make it look very seamless. You can kind of see right here where that cut happened right there. You can almost see it. But between sanding and painting, it's almost indistinguishable, and from a distance you definitely can't tell. So I'm glad that that turned out well. And also she just has her functionality. I can bend these legs, and as long as I don't use too much force, it's not going to pop off. So she can at least stand up unassisted, and that's what I want. Now, that being said, all of the straps on her legs are just sculpted on. It's not the best detail or the most accurate detail. I did what I could. I messed up a few things with that, but I'm not going to go into that. Her torso is just a standard torso for Kate Bishop, and added some extra, these little digits in the back for her back, all across her back. Painted with the same, I believe it's steel, actually, a steel color with a little bit of black in there. Bodysuit arms for the sculpted detail for the cloth ripples and stuff. So she got bodysuit arms there. Upper torso is that of a standard Blink figure, but modified because I didn't think the chest is good enough size for Jill. So I actually dremeled down her chest and made it smaller so I can add the sculpt to make her chest the size I want it to be. And I'm probably going to do that more often. Also sculpted her little mind control thing on her chest. Could have been a little bit lighter red, could have been a little bit more detailed, but works for me. Going to her face. Now, this is the face I want Jill to have. This is what I was hoping the first Jill was going to be when I was looking at all of my extra head sculpts. So the head is actually the wasp / domino head. Either one is the exact same thing. The wasp head from the retro carded wasp, or the domino figure, the all black one. It's pretty much the same head. But this one in particular is the wasp head. So I did not paint the eyes at all because it already has blue eyes. Jill has blue eyes. It worked out, so it makes her face look really good because I didn't paint that at all. And then her ponytail, her hair, all of this on the head itself is sculpted by me, just to get the ponytail going. And then the actual tail part of it, it comes from this is probably the only time I'll ever say it. It comes from a Hasbro G.I. Joe figure, the Scarlet figure. This is her ponytail. I bought the Scarlet figure years ago, Because one, I thought, yeah, you can totally use G.I. Joes and Marvel Legends together. They're both Hasbro. And Scarlet has pretty cool body, some great details, cool weapons and stuff. Maybe I'll use it. And hey, that face looks like Claire Redfield. So I think I'm going to copy that head and use it for Claire Redfield one day. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. I still haven't made that Claire Redfield, but I finally got around to using the hair just for this ponytail. I did make copies of that head for Scarlet, so I might still be doing Claire Redfield. If I do, it'll be this year. But right now, no immediate plans for Claire Redfield. I still want one though, but I got to figure out some other stuff. But that said, everything else is hand painted. Is just like the whole figure is, her face and stuff, just not her eyes. But yeah, there we go. That's it. It turned out really good. I really, really like this one a lot. It's one of my, not only my favorite of all of the Jills that I made, it's like one of my favorite figures that I've made, period. Just because I really love how the purple pops. Really love how her chest came out without being too exaggeratedly large or small or anything. The guns are excellent. The shoes are just right on. I really love the ponytail. And yeah, it's one of my favorite customs I've ever made. So I'm super into this. All right, for a quick comparison, we have the custom Psylocke I made a few months ago. This is like a Crimson Dawn, Marvel 2 Psylocke, basically. And we have the custom Jill right in the middle. S.T.A.R.S Jill, our Marvel 2 Jill. And then we have our Bone Claw Wolverine. What was that? The Love Triangle 3-pack Wolverine right here. So just a quick little Marvel 2 reference there. Anybody play with this team of 3 at all by coincidence? That would be interesting. Probably not a great team, but still a fun team. Totally a fun team to play though, especially Jill. Jill's great in that game. And another quick comparison, we have my custom X-23 I made like a year ago, maybe 2, of the RE5 Jill. And then this is a Kotable Kia Model Kit 0. So this is all Marvel 3 here. That's why we got these together. I highly doubt anyone plays these 3 characters in that game, because yeah, no one plays Jill. Let's be real. Almost like maybe 1% of the actual player base for Marvel 3 actually plays Jill Valentine. But it's fine. We all know. We all know why. But it's fine. She still looks great. That said, yeah. So while we're here, I do want to quickly say that if you like this X-23, I do plan on making more of these. I may change the skin tone of both what I make in the future and even my own. But I am planning on making it, and she has foot claws and everything, making a couple of these and selling them myself on eBay, so you'll be able to buy them directly from me. When exactly that's going to happen, I don't know, so please stay patient. I do plan on making those this year. I just don't know exactly when that will be. But if you're interested in an X-23, this I can make for you at home. Jill Valentine, I most likely will not make for y'all at home. Most likely. But we'll see. No promises. But X-23, you will see that one for sure. And before I go, again, it is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I did plan on having 2 videos today. Unfortunately, time has gotten to me. I'm also an old man, so I don't have a whole lot of energy to get things done. But I am halfway done on the other Valentine's thing that I was going to do for, wow, she looks much bigger. I was planning on doing a Ivy Valentine, and I still am right here. She's halfway done, so we're just going to quickly show you that. You'll get more information on this when it's finished, but you can just see that I am indeed working on an Ivy Valentine figure. That would have been the second video for today, but she's just not quite ready yet. Gotta do the other half of her body and obviously paint her. So look forward to seeing that probably next week. most likely get this finished within the next few days, and then paint her, and then I'll post a video of Ivy next week. So it'll be a belated Valentine's gift, basically. Thanks for watching this video, though. Make sure you like, leave a pretty relatively positive comment if you can, and subscribe to this channel if you can, if you haven't already, and share this video, because that was a lot of Jill Valentine, and she's pretty awesome, isn't she? Like I said, I have this as the next thing that's going to be up on the channel in about a week or so, and then I'll have a black character, which I will not say who she is, to end Black History Month with, and then I'll have another video of Black History Month related with action figures coming at the end of the month. So I will see you guys then. Make sure you guys are good to each other, and I'll see you next time. Peace.